Hello and welcome to the Pretty Good Gaming Podcast. My name's Mike Williams. I'm joined by Liam Mckelvey.
Hello.
And Jake Kulkowski.
Hello.
This is going to be a bit different this week because we've got like loads of comments and questions. As per usual, to be honest, you're really good at asking these questions. But we have a great many questions this week, and we decided rather than just trying to come up with our own topics and stuff, we're making like 13, 14 videos a week anyway, that we got plenty of opportunity to talk about what we want to talk about. So let's talk about what you want to talk about on the podcast and, see how that goes. So that's the plan today. We're just going through your comments. So if this works out, I guess we'll do it again. Let's see how it goes. So these are comments left to us on our Patreon page. And if you want us to answer your questions, you know what? If I had the comments document open, that would be good, wouldn't it? Let me just find my... Let me just find my fucking... There it is. This new format's going well already. Yes. Right. All right. So these comments are left to us on our Patreon page, like I said. And if you want us to answer your questions, then just leave them in response to the post that we'll post this podcast on our Patreon. You can respond to that. Ask us whatever you want, even if it's as ridiculous as the first question from Simply Phil, who asks, "You are having chips. What sauce do you reach for?" He's just trying to start some shit there, isn't he, Simply Phil? I mean, so
let's all just remember where we are now.
Exactly. That's the kind of question.
At the end of this topic the same way.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the kind. You could ask that kind of question, or you could ask a kind of topic that won't enrage people who are in the room and cause all kinds of rifts and arguments. So first of all, Josh Northall asks, if you guys were characters in a hero shooter like Overwatch, what class would you be, and what would your special abilities be? I don't know. We don't play hero shooters, do we, that much?
No, I don't think... Like, Leon playing Ghost in the Shell isn't even a hero shooter. That's the closest we've got. Yeah. And that's how far away we are from that.
We're not Overwatch fans in the office.
Really, or Lawbreakers or Battleborn or anything.
Other hero shooters are available.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. It's a difficult question. I guess we...
I think they work kind of like MMO classes.
Yeah.
Like tank, damage, support or whatever.
Yes, healer, all that.
But these questions always come down to build. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I'd be like some kind of flipping elf or something like that because I'm tall. Do you know what I mean? It's like that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? It's difficult to ask. It's difficult kind of question.
I'm like the gnome, whatever.
The gnome, the famous fantasy race of gnomes.
They're in
the dwarf. Why choose gnome?
Yeah, don't sell yourself short.
Yeah,
I mean, gnomes are pretty good mages in World of Warcraft. They make a pretty good mage.
Okay. So you don't see yourself as a tank. That's what it is.
Dwarf Paladin would be pretty cool. That's what I played in World of Warcraft.
This is already going well. Okay, so let's get into a deep topic, a proper topic here then. So Henry Barr says, Gaz says the Xbox One is marketing to a very niche market of hardcore gamers that for some reason do not want to become PC gamers. Is the Xbox One not a far superior $500 gaming console when compared to a $500 PC? Is the Xbox One not the best $500 option for gaming? So... I don't know. It all comes down to where you want to play your games with the Xbox One, I think.
Yeah.
Because the PC, you'll get a $500 PC. There's so much variety and leeway and customization open to you when you're getting a PC, and there's so many different places you could come from that go to. The price ranges are huge. Like the actual, the options available to you mean that you could get a really good PC for $500 that will do better than an Xbox One, will perform better than an Xbox One. And you've got the flexibility with the specs as well. The Xbox One is like a set recipe of things that it does, it does certain things really well, like playing in 4K, for example. But the CPU's not amazing. So if you wanted to have a real CPU powerhouse, then you could do that and still get a $500 machine. I don't know, what do you guys think?
I think it is a pretty good choice, to be honest, because a lot of PC build, like you said, it comes down to there's so many options for PC building out there. It's like, if you're new to PC gaming, it'll be really confusing. And you get loads of people like rip off on Amazon sellers. You're like, look at this amazing gaming PC, £500. And it's like total trash.
Or just PC World. They're pretty bad for that, aren't they?
Terrible.
It's loads of like advertise something to make it sound better than it is. Whereas at least Xbox, it's $500. And it actually does what they say it will do.
And that's like the essence of console gaming, though, isn't it? And that's the appeal of it. And to be honest, the older I get, the more appealing it becomes, because it's just like no hassle. It's just like plug in and play, and that is
box,
exactly. That's the selling point, and that's what you get with the Xbox One. And it's it's getting a little bit less so these days because you know, with the Xbox One and PS4 Pro, you got to choose what settings you want. Like if you want it optimized for, you know, a high frame rate or to be running at 4K or whatever. Yeah. And that's very minor, but you know, it's at least a step towards more like PC gaming, where you've got to be more conscious of like how the game's performing. Yeah. You've got to have some like literacy of just knowing what these words mean and how important they are and how they'll affect your experience. Like Neo, for example, let you have like an action mode, or what was it? It was action mode, or
like action, movie, and I think it was like hybrid, something like that, balance.
So basically, it'll let you make the game look nice or play nice, and then you know you got to decide there. You got to make the decision. Whereas you know historically, it's just been plug in and it just runs the way it runs. So that, I mean, that is the one way it's going. But I think with, like I said at the beginning of this it comes down to where you want to play your games. You want to play a game in a living room.
This is true, and I know this is going to sound very patronising now, but bear with me. A lot of people that will be commenting and things like that, and a lot of younger people will still be living with their parents or whatever, or maybe like they're in uni digs or whatever, but you'll be in like one room, like an apartment or a bedroom or whatever, so it doesn't really make that much of a difference. But when you have a house, a whole house of your own, a PC in the front room is... I mean, some people do it, but it takes up a lot of space and things like that. And if you've got kids or pets or anything like that, it's a bit clunky. And especially if you spent a lot of money on it, you don't want it there when you've got all these different things running around. So, you know, it takes up a lot less space to have a console there. Like, you know, it's a bit of a meme now that I keep telling everybody about my fucking PC in my attic. But it's true, and it's like a pain in the arse. And
you create your own memes, though. You're the master of your own memes. It's
a forced meme. It is, isn't it? But so yeah, if you're a patron, you'll already know, like, I've got to go 2 floors every time. I always whinge about it to play my PC. And I will sometimes, like, we'll be given copies of games on the PC, and sometimes I'll buy them on the PS4 just because I can't be arsed, or because I've got to be on call, like if there's fucking problem or something like that, or drink gets spilt, or crayons on the table. It's just like, so when you know you become more sort of aware of problems like that when you have your own house, or you know you live in with friends or whatever, and it becomes a lot more convenient. It's not something you would have maybe considered if you live in one room. And so I can completely empathise with the fact that you see it as pointless. But yeah, it's down to like the sofa gaming. Yeah. And when you get older and your back starts going, you know what I mean? You want to sit on the sofa,
you don't want to be going up and down the stairs all the time.
And don't come at me with these fucking referrals for ergonomic gaming chairs, all right? I don't want the PewDiePie fucking £800 chair. All right, I've already got a sofa. No, but that's what it comes down to. It's just more options there. Personally, I mean, we've had a little bit of an update on the situation. Liam, you're now the proud owner on Xbox One X.
Have you got it yet? Is it right?
It's on the way today, actually. I'm waiting for the delivery guy.
By the time it's out, by the time this is out, Liam will have it. So
so that's a convert already. That's that's one down out of 4.
What is it that made you want to buy it? Because this might have a bit of an insight into it, isn't it?
Partially space. I'm quite limited for space, and the Xbox One, I've got a launch model, is fucking huge.
Yeah.
It's like I can clear up an entire shelf on my TV stand, which is great. I've got the equipment.
It really is big, though. It needs to be stated. It's
very,
a
very
fucking
big.
huge machine.
It is
isn't
a monster.
Yeah, you might as well put a PC tower sideways on the telly, to be honest.
You might as well. Yeah. I've got the equipment. I've got a 4K telly. I can take full advantage of the power, the true power, whatever it is to say, and just I wanted an upgrade, really.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I've had my Xbox One for a while.
Yeah.
It's not really been used all that much lately, and maybe this will get me to spend a bit more time on the Xbox platform.
So here's a question: how is this going to affect what games, what platform you play games on? So, for example, Star Wars Battlefront 2 is coming up. Should have some lovely 4K capabilities on that. Is that, are you going to go for Xbox or PlayStation or PC? You've got these 3 options now. So I mean,
for a game like Battlefront, multiplayer game, they'd be entirely dependent where friends and you guys would play. If you guys are playing it on PlayStation, I'd go PlayStation because you know it's a multiplayer game. You want to play with your friends.
Yeah, you fell right into that one, Mike, didn't you? Should have went for fucking single player. What about like because you got this sort of. You know, the cross-play, haven't you, between...
You're calling me out on my hosting there. I just fucking realised, I was half asleep here. I was like,
you fell
wait,
into
what?
I thought I got away a bit easy on that. I thought he was going to, like, call me a prick or something, but no. Well, you know, like, you've got a PC and you can, like, play the same games.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's a pretty stupid question, really. So after slagging off Mike, I'm going to fall into the same trap. Is there any games that you're playing on PC now that you think, actually, I'd prefer to play it on the Xbox One X?
suppose something like, I haven't got it yet, but I might get Assassin's Creed Origins on the One X.
Yeah.
If it goes on sale for like Black Friday or something.
Yeah.
Which it probably will, to be honest.
Because Ubisoft PC versions are never very good. They're always quite historically problematic. And Assassin's Creed, just like...
It's very true of the entire series, to be honest.
It's a very...
historically problematic.
But is that, and Assassin's Creed, to me, it's like it's one of those games you sit on your sofa, play. You can
it seems like a console game.
Yeah, you can free roam about for an hour or two, do side quests.
Yeah.
Chill out.
Third-person open-world games, they're made for couch gaming, aren't they? They're not PC games, and that's it kind of exposes them as not bad games, but kind of weaker in terms of gameplay design, because the design is for you to come home after work, put your feet up on a coffee table, and just play it for an hour or two, not thinking too much about what you're doing, just run into the next map icon and doing the job that you need to do, and then getting out of there. Assassin's Creed's like the pinnacle of that, isn't it? So
it's like stuff like that. I mean, if Microsoft want to make first-party exclusives, I'd be quite happy to play them on the One X.
I think what they're thinking about this with the Xbox One, which I think has been selling pretty well. I read a headline the other day that said it's outsold the PS4 Pro in the UK. Like for like launch week sales or whatever in the same period.
A lot more.
So it's doing all right. And I think what their strategy is that there are people who play games, there are people who want the best gaming experience they can get, and they just don't think about PC gaming. They just it's not on their radar. It's not like a mouse and keyboard is not. It's such an alien thing to them. They just can't be arsed with any of the hassle. They're going to have to go upstairs to the office or set up a PC somewhere else in the living room. Whereas they could just buy the Xbox One X as a box and put it under the TV, and it'll be a very powerful box in comparison to what they've already got under the TV. So I can see it, because you see a lot of skepticism about it, and the Total Biscuits of this world, and the it's like, oh, it's never going to be as powerful as a PC. Of course it's not. But it's not going. It is the most powerful console, and that is an appealing headline to a lot of
console players.
And there is a market there. I think Microsoft are right to try and do it, because there are clearly people who want to buy it because it's selling loads in the UK.
And there'll be boundaries. Not everybody wants to go to the PC. Yeah, you're right. People are happy. I know it sounds like alien to a lot of people.
Yeah.
People like the feeling of controllers. People probably look at the PC Master Race comments and YouTube comments sections and go, I don't want to be like that. You know what I mean? So, and more power to them.
That's not me.
Then again, some of the Xbox fan comments that we get are just as bad. So, I think that's just people. But, it seems that it's the biggest fish and not the biggest pond. And that's the problem. PC fans hate it. Well, it's not as powerful as my fucking console. Yeah. I spent lots of money on a 1080. Please, guys.
Yeah, which is true. The cards, the graphics cards inside PCs are fucking, they're as expensive, more expensive, but the capabilities you get are infinitely higher. I mean, if you want to be a cutting edge gamer, you need a PC. If you want to be on the bleeding edge of technology playing games, you got to have a PC. But there are people who want just powerful consoles, and I think the Xbox One X kind of sales are showing that. So let's move on to this other question. It's very related. David Olette, I'm a little confused. None of you gave. Oh, this is in response to last week's podcast, which I guess you guys spoke about. Xbox One X.
Yeah, because it was its launch week. So
it's like David Olette says, I'm a little confused. None of you gave the same arguments about the PS4 Pro, which also came with 0 games, needed a 4K TV, which was more expensive last year, and has the same game size problem. So which is it? Do you just hate the Xbox?
Okay.
No, David.
No, you've activated my trap card, David.
Well, he's got. There's some more elaboration here. Now that said, really, if you have a decent PC, there is no reason for an Xbox. But looking at that is how Microsoft wants it. The Xbox is for the gamer without a good PC, but wants a nice 4K experience in the living room. It's a niche product, same as the PS4 Pro. So that's I guess that's kind of what we've been saying. There is a market. Niche isn't the right word. Niche, niche is kind of it gets misused a lot, and it just to mean certain types of people will like it, rather than niche gives this impression that only a very limited amount of people will like it. But that's not true. It's just a certain category of people, and that category could be huge, could be worthy of trying to sell a console to.
We said last week that it was like the Venn diagram is probably quite small of people that are exclusive to consoles, yet want sort of almost PC level gaming, but won't make that jump.
Yeah.
Because normally a lot of people will have friends that have got PCs, and then they'll persuade them and stuff like that. With response to the PS4 Pro, you are absolutely right. I think we were focusing on the Xbox last week, just because the Xbox came out. So the PS4 did have a similar problem. From what I remember, though, and again, not defending PlayStation here, because again, could be totally wrong. Just off the top of my head, I don't remember it being that expensive, though.
PS4 Pro?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. It was the same as the PS4 launch price, $350, which is significantly cheaper than
£100 off.
Yeah.
And so I mean, yeah, it's still not great, but it's no like I'm saying. Now we've got the sort of, well, Liam's got an Xbox One X. God, to whip out. But yeah, it's like you're saying about being niche. It's just kind of for me, I guess, and a lot of people that own PCs get confused by the fact that there are people that are serious about gaming and graphics and FPS and resolution without getting a PC, and that is what the sort of demographic might be for this, or rich people with like disposable income. Do you know what I mean? Like people that camp outside the shops to buy the iPhone 10, or is it the iPhone X?
I think it is the iPhone 10.
Yeah. I mean, like them people, isn't it? People that buy Kanye West t-shirts.
iPhone X is so ambiguous. It's just, I mean, because there are products out there that use the X as an X, like the Xbox One X,
the Xbox One 10.
It's so confusing. Anyway, that's fucking way off topic. But yeah, so no, we do not hate the Xbox. Is the bottom line. My favorite console ever is the Xbox 360. I say that with great confidence.
Fantastic console.
It's the most online kind of fun I've had. Gaming online like for a long period of years, for about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. Getting home from school and getting in a lobby with all your mates and just chatting shit.
It was the birth of that stuff for me.
Yeah, COD 4 and Skate, mate.
I wasn't a multiplayer PC gamer. I was too young, I guess. I was during the time of like COD and COD 2 and all that. I would have been like 13, 14, or so just a bit too young to be able to afford a PC in the first place. So Xbox 360 was a gateway to like online gaming and all kinds of stuff. So it's my favorite console. So no, we don't hate the Xbox. But thanks for the questions. So there you go. Xbox One X a week or so after it comes out is selling well in the UK. I think it's going to do all right. I think it's. I definitely think there is a market for it. I don't think it's going to be a dud. They've marketed it heavily. What you don't get as well is repeated adverts saying PC gaming, the most powerful place to play. Whereas you do get adverts now constantly saying Xbox One X, the most powerful games console ever, right? Over and over and over again. And that kind of cultural just messaging will just seep out there. Every time people watch YouTube videos, every time people are hitting up Eurogame or whatever, they'll just have that little reminder. Xbox One X, the most powerful console ever. Yeah. You just don't get that for PC gaming. So people are going to see this as a very powerful gaming option and buy it. And I think it's going to do well.
Let's see what it does next year. PS4 Pro's caught on now after a year. You both have made the jump. So I can imagine a lot of maybe not now because it's so early to tell. Like who knew the Switch was going to be as big as it was after a week, But yeah, I think you're totally right. I think this time next year it'll be a different story for the Xbox.
So there you go. Good questions there, guys. Thanks for those. Stephen Hughes asks, this is an ad-friendly question apparently from Stephen. Okay, interesting. Do you think we need a new way to specify game genres? We tend to describe games by their mechanics and not much else. It's very true. E.g. first person or real time or point and click. To me, this seems very limiting. Any ideas? So a new way of thinking about games, it's true. Like the mechanics are what define the games. You never, you don't really come up with sci-fi. You never describe a game as sci-fi before describing it as a first person shooter. You know what I mean? You never go like, I don't know, Destiny, it's a sci-fi game. You wouldn't. Yeah. It's a shooter. So it's an online shooter. It's an interesting question. I think as the medium evolves, it'll maybe develop a bit more. What we've got now is on Steam is quite interesting, like tags and stuff.
Different tags.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I think when you're talking to other people, just it's not hard to just elaborate on a game. I don't know. I've never said what's Destiny and someone's gone a shooter, but it's advertised that way. You're totally right. So advertising wise, I mean, I wonder how they'd get around doing it without the back of the box, set in a futuristic universe, blah 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 blah. I mean, how else would you do that? Maybe. I think tags is pretty much the best you can do, or just watch a YouTube video or talk to another human being. You know?
But in terms of single word genre description, like in movies, it's very clear, isn't it? It's like a drama or a comedy or something. You know exactly what you're in for with that most of the time. You know exactly what it's going to be. But with gaming, it's all about the the input method, like the model that the game's built, which a lot of these models are old, like from the 90s, like first person shooting and whatever, and they haven't really, that's just, what that game is then. And like Rogue from the fucking 1980 game Rogue, I mean, you know what roguelike is.
There's Rogue and Metroidvania is another one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like people describe that a lot. So yeah, I mean, there's some like CRPG people use to describe the sort of like Baldur's Gate, Divinity Original Sin 2. I think that's pretty accurate. You know what to expect with that. But then again, like if you bought that expecting Dungeons and Dragons and it was a game about like space, you'd be like, fuck.
Yeah.
So there's a bit too much. But then again, I guess like, maybe with films, if you said it was a comedy and it was a comedy about zombies or a comedy about Hugh Grant, that'd be a bit different.
That's like Shaun of the Dead did, doesn't it? It was like rom-com. Romantic comedy with zombies or something like that.
Yeah. I'm sure
it
will evolve.
Itself.
Yeah, put Zom in there, yeah. I think Zomcom, it works. But yeah, I guess it just needs to catch on, like you're saying. A lot of these are just kind of being kept there. And it's things that I don't think Metroidvania was an official marketing term. That seems to have just caught on. But you kind of know what to expect. So once it's a roguelike Metroidvania game, you go, okay, I know what to expect.
You're getting more and more of that. Souls-like is the big one, isn't it? At the moment, like this. You get a lot of, when a game comes out and defines its own set of rules. This is the problem with gaming, like because it is infinitely more complex than films in terms of. Just what it is as a product. Like there is writing, there is story, there is visual elements, there is sound, but then there's also the input, which changes everything. It's like another dimension, a completely different thing. You're in charge of what that game is and how it plays because you're controlling it. So that opens up loads of different doors. And so when Dark Souls comes along. Or Demon Souls or whatever, but Dark Souls really, I mean, it just sets a precedent of like, this is a new rule book, this is how we're making games, this is a completely different thing to what you've experienced before. Every game, and then multiple games come out after that, that are either directly, kind of inspired or ripped off from it. And then you've got other games that aren't necessarily meant to be Dark Souls clones, but they just use elements from it. And then so you have like RPGs that have Souls-like elements in it. And it's like, it's because of the complexity. I think that's what it is. Like trying to define things by simple tags is difficult, and that's why you've got like Steam tags now, which are great. I mean, they're really cool. I don't quite know how they work. Do people just like volunteer?
Yeah, they're just like community made. People type them in. That's why you get like stupid ones like pay to win simulator and shit like that, and people put like walking simulator. That's where walking simulator came from, because like people kept tagging games like.
Dear Esther.
Dear Esther was the first one.
That's it, yeah.
Where people just like, all they do is walk, so they jokingly called it a walking simulator. So that's an entire genre. So
on Steam, it shows you kind of a few of these, doesn't it? Like on the home store page, you can investigate and find out what all the tags are if you want, but it just gives you like a selection of like 6, 7, 8 or whatever of them. Is that just like weight of people saying this is a walking simulator? So it's like
I think that's right. Like the more people that enter that same thing, it stacks. So the most popular ones will rise to the top, So
that's a brilliant system. I think that could really help us, develop the way we talk about games to be a bit more, informative, and rather than just
stick to the mechanic.
Yeah,
because you still have no idea of the concept.
The thematic elements of it that are really, really important. Like it's like Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. It's the thematic elements of that game that make it, a great memorable game, not necessarily the combat. But that's how you describe that game as a third person walking simulator with a bit of combat in it. That's fucking undersells it.
Is that in primitive era? Exactly. So that
tells you nothing about what the thematics of it.
And the more narrative games get, and the more important story is and things like that, then the more that people need to know that. So I think tags are probably the way forward.
So that's a great question there, Stephen. Let's move on then to October Comstock, who left a very long comment. But the question was, what defines a good DLC or microtransaction purchase for you guys, and why? So what would we consider to be a good DLC or microtransaction? Do you think even curated cosmetic content is a slippery slope at this point and has become overpriced? I feel it is well done and reasonably priced. I will probably if I feel it's well done and reasonably priced, I'll probably purchase it, but only if I feel like it adds value to my game. Also, what's your take on my point above about the trading cards? Thanks, guys. Okay, so that was a long comment from October there. She's asking, where would you put your money? Like, what's worth?
Yeah, I guess
what's worth buying when it comes to microtransactions and DLC? I've mostly nothing when it comes to microtransactions. I've never bought one.
Microtransactions I'm not really big on, but if DLC has to be pretty big for me. Like Undead Nightmare type DLC.
Yes,
like,
yeah.
Frozen Wilds, that type of stuff is what I'll.
The Witcher expansions.
Be more inclined. Yeah, like stuff like that is what I consider to be what proper DLC should be like.
Yeah, I like it when a game's got like a thematic overhaul. Because if it's too close to like the core game, it just feels like it was cut out. But something like Undead Nightmare, it's the world that you know and love, the mechanics you know and love, but with a zombie spin on it, feels like really like almost like a different game. I don't want to say that, but I'm gonna have to on that because I don't know how else to describe it. But I guess like when you look back at like PC gaming in like the early 2000s with expansion packs, they felt different enough to be worthy of a purchase. And a lot of the time, you need to have enough new there that can base itself around the old game engine. Like, Blood and Wine. Like, look at the colour palette, the way that people act and things like that. It needs to be varied enough, I think. Obviously, size matters when it comes to DLC. Don't want to spend like 15 quid on an hour of DLC. I won't buy anything cosmetic. I don't really get that. The closest I've ever come to that is spending my Ubisoft points that I'd amassed from unlocking achievements in Ubisoft games on different stuff. But, that's not any real money. I don't think I've ever spent money on a purchase, especially not to look different. It doesn't matter to me.
Well, the closest I've got is the Blood and Gore DLC for Total War games, because they don't put that in the game. But this is what they say, because they would have to rate it higher. Like, it'd have to be like an old, it'd have to be like an 18 rather than a fucking 12 or whatever it is. Right. I buy that, and people hate that DLC. People think that's terrible. It's fucking $1.99 for a bit of blood and whatever. You can get mods that do it, and I've just fucking dropped a quid on it and in a Steam sale, and there you go. I've got Blood and Gore in my game, and that is the only thing I can really think of. In terms of DLC, I'm the same with it. It's big chunky expansions, obviously, I will consider, because they're basically their own games. And then with strategy games, it's interesting because with XCOM 2, which was one of my games of the year from last year, they come out with War of the Chosen, which is the same game. You've got to play through the campaign again, but because of the structure of XCOM 2, they've just added loads of stuff on top of it, so the experience feels very different because there's a lot of new content and a lot of new kind of story elements and whatnot, and customization. Like XCOM has this phenomenal customization system, which you don't have to pay anything for. I mean, there's DLC and stuff if you want to add to it, but that's it. Right. Things like that, and strategy games in general are quite bad with DLC, because they're like Crusader Kings, Paradox Games, Total War, even, it's like, here's a set of races, you've bought this game for 30 quid, here's this map, and here are these races. See those guys over there, you want to play as them? Well, we've got a little DLC pack here for you. It's only 10 quid, but you can play as them, and we'll add a lot of stuff to that. I fell into
that at the moment. I've been noticing that, I've got Total War 2 and 1 recently, and I noticed there's loads of extra stuff you can get, and if you buy some of the DLC from the first game, you can use it in the second game's Mortal Empires campaign, other than the Norska. But one thing I realised was Chaos, who are like Warhammer's big bad guys. Recently the Darth Vader kickoff of EA was because Darth Vader isn't just a bad guy, he's the bad guy.
Darth Vader.
Yeah, and they've locked that iconic character. A lot of Total War fans, a lot of Warhammer fans, should I say, were really annoyed about that, because Chaos is the bad thing. Yeah. And
you had to pre as a pre-order bonus. It was famously that you had to pre-order the game. And then it was like, you can buy it week 1. If you buy the game week 1, then you'll get it for free. After that, it's like fucking 8 quid.
Yeah, I think it's like, that's about right, about £8. But this is what it is. So I've got all these races in my game in Warhammer, and I want to play as them, because the game plays differently with the races a lot. But I've realised it's probably going to cost me about 40 quid. Yeah. So it's another game. To get it all. And then I feel sorry for people that are into Paradox games, like Crusader Kings, famously about 200 quid worth of DLC.
Yeah, it's like every week, man. It's like every week there's a new country or a new prince or something.
It's as fast as they can churn them out.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
I think one thing though that is the important factor into any decision making is that you know what you're going to get, right? Blood and Gore, £2, £1, whatever it may be, you know what you're going to get with that. You can look at it and you can decide. You can probably watch a trailer on YouTube of it. That's good when DLCs have trailers and things. But when it's a microtransaction that it's like randomized, you don't know what you're going to get. How can anyone get behind that? I like to just decide, do I want this? Do I not? And it doesn't matter if you want Blood and Gore. It doesn't matter if you want a cosmetic item. As long as you know what you're getting and you think it's fair for yourself. Sometimes if you're promised something, season passes do it, and then you don't get it quite as expected, it's a different story. As you know, let's not make this about loot boxes, but I think that's the most important factor, though, isn't it? It's just knowing what you're going to get first. Sometimes they give you like a proper, like, this is how long the game's going to be, this is how many quests it's adding, and sometimes it's like a little bit more. Like Blood and Wine, I think, was just like explore the region of Tucson or whatever. Yeah. But some games are like, there'll be 56 new quests, 108 hours of, and anything like that factors in. So that's that.
Okay, so that's another great question. We'll do one more question, and then we'll do fact of the week, and then we'll do some more questions here. Bogdan Barros. Hi PGG, could you please tell me when do AAA games in general go on sale after launch? I don't want to support WB for their loot boxes in Shadow of War. It's a single player game. But even pirating it turned out to be a bit of a headache.
This guy's asking us.
Can't even pirate this game, it's so annoying. Okay, so he's got a two-parter here. The second question, any new information on the Final Fantasy VII remake? This is directed specifically at Liam.
I like how he's not asking Google. He could have Googled this, but he'd rather wait for
can't trust your sources.
Yeah,
these
exactly.
Days. So, all right, good couple of questions there, Bogdan. Cheers. So that first question, when do games generally go on sale? Very, very soon these days.
Yeah.
It doesn't take long these days.
2 months, especially around Christmas.
Yeah. I bet you, yes, Black Friday, COD World War II, Origins, Shadow of War, South Park. I mean, all these recent, all the recent big ones, they'll be significantly discounted. 27
is the magic number on Black Friday, isn't it? And new games in the UK, new games like 40 quid.
Yeah. Which is 45 these days. Yeah.
All right. So 40, 45 pounds. Yeah, and then normally down to about 27 pounds. Normally in supermarkets as well, which is weird. Like places you buy groceries from, you know what I mean? Like not game shops. Yeah. It's fucking weird. That
game shops are shite now, man. Game shops, right? You go to Game these days, you're talking 55 quid for one of them games that we just listed. COD, Assassin's Creed. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Well, this is how are they still open?
I want to use this as an opportunity just to ask a question for my own personal. For anyone listening that's not based in the UK, does this happen for you guys as well? Does supermarkets sell games cheaper than game shops? Because over here we've got the shop Tesco, and it sells games a lot of the time at a loss because it knows it'll get people through the door, and then they'll do their shopping there, buy bread and milk and whatever. But I just want to know if that happens all over. It's just I'm interested to know what because for us, the number one place you don't want to buy a game from is the UK shop called Game. Do you know what I mean? Where do you think you'd go for games?
It's called the thing that you buy there, and it's not good for buying that thing there.
Yeah. Anyway, but that's about 27 quid. It's only about 2 months after. Yeah, definitely around Christmas.
I mean, Liam, you and I are quite hot on the sales, aren't we? We're always keeping an eye on the PlayStation Store and stuff like that, getting some digital deals. I mean, I don't know. When would you say a game generally, if you're expecting these big raft of AAA games, when are they going to sell?
Like Jake said, usually around 2-3 months afterwards. But especially if a game isn't performing as well as a company expected it to. Yeah. Like I remember Batman Arkham Knight on PC, famously terrible port. And then I think like a month or two after, it was down from like 40 quid. It's like a tenner. It was like, and that was a month after it came out.
I got that game for £15 for 3 or 4 weeks after it came out.
That's it. So it depends on the game. If a game is selling quite badly, like the COD games typically do on PC, you usually find them going on discount pretty quickly.
You've also got the Origin Access as well. This is EA service on PC. There's also an Xbox with a different name, like EA Vault or something like that.
I think it's just EA Access actually.
Right. Okay. So I'm using it on PC, and on that it's got Mass Effect Andromeda, it's got Battlefield 1, it's got Titanfall 2, it's got all these big EA games from the last 12 months, and it costs $3.99 for a month of that service, and you can play all those AAA games. You can probably beat all of them and have a good go on multiplayer in a month. So and it doesn't take long for games, especially like you said. Andromeda was an absolute fucking dud, wasn't it? So sales wise, anyway, and it. That was on there pretty quickly, and that's got to be hurtful for EA to have to do that. It's got to be like, shit, we just spent loads of money on this, but we're basically giving it away to people. But it happens, so just keep an eye out, innit? And what about the Final Fantasy VII remake, Liam? When's that?
Well, there is a word that they've had to reshuffle the development team because things went pretty badly apparently with the team they're working with, but there's a rumour you might hear more at the PlayStation Experience this December.
Right.
Because apparently they've got there's rumours going around that they've got some pretty Japanesey stuff saved up.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's why he asked. That's why he directed the question at you, isn't it, Liam? To respect the games journalist Liam Mckelvey. You got an answer there. That's a good answer. So
keep an eye for PSX.
Yeah, there you go. So, all right, let's move on to fact of the week then. So, fact of the week this week is coming like at an odd time in the podcast, I guess. So it's like 30 minutes, 35 minutes in, because this comment special is kind of throwing everything out of whack.
Right, precisely what it needs to, doesn't it?
But yeah, all right, okay. So let's just do fact of the week. Here comes the jingle. Right, in 2010's Red Dead Redemption, John Marston only calls Bonnie McFarlane by her first name twice throughout the entire game. Right, so I guess we'd normally have a 30-second throwdown here, but we haven't got one. We're just calm.
We're pretty relaxed.
I guess the big story is the loot box thing, and the thing I'm upset about is not related to video games at the moment.
Yeah, but we decided.
But this is.
Gas always says, these guys talk about movies all the time.
Well, yeah.
So we're not going to do it.
And this is a video game. This is a video game podcast. I get upset at any whiff of a reference at Game of Thrones. So we won't do a 30-second throwdown. But like I said, it is about an issue. It's about a book adaptation, really, a book adaptation that's already got a phenomenal, one of the greatest movies of all time, kind of just kind of adapted from it, and they're now making a TV series out of it. And I'm not going to say what this thing is, but it's just really upsetting, and it's already perfect as it is. And they're talking about multiple series exploring this same story, or the kind of the run up to that story, a bit of a prequel, I guess. But just fuck off in it. Just don't do it.
Yeah. So that's what would have. We would have
done a 30-second throwdown on that, but we're not, because this is a video game podcast. So let's do some more questions then. Who's up next? Another question about genres. I guess we've already answered this. Mounty Man. Hey guys, hope you all are doing well. I've been thinking a lot about different game genres lately. What would you say are genre-defining games? So, like we said, Dark Souls and stuff like that. But I think certain games like XCOM,
genre-defining as in.
A game that comes, like we were talking about just earlier, like a game just kind of comes out of the blue and it just comes up with its own set of rules. It's a different way of playing games. Cool. So I think XCOM, the newer kind of XCOM games, they are their own thing, and there is no other game like them. And then you'll get XCOM style combat, and you'll get XCOM style this and that, but you don't get. Yeah. You don't get the whole package. It's a completely own thing. You can broadly describe it as a tactical or a strategy game, but that doesn't really do it justice. There's loads of tactical and strategy games, and it's already. And the reason I think it's genre defining is because Nintendo and Ubisoft are doing it with Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle. So they've kind of taken that genre as it is now, the XCOM genre, doing their own thing with it. What about you guys? You got any ideas?
Metal Gear Solid Stealth. That was a pretty obvious one.
Yeah.
I'll steal the
top-down kind of stuff.
Tenchu was the first ever 3D stealth game ever.
What about recent ones though? What about the last kind of 5-10 years? Any new? I think because there's so many indie games that do
Far Cry 3
all the time.
That defined the Ubisoft
open
world
You're
formula.
absolutely right.
The towers, the map that is littered with icons.
Well,
and stuff like that.
What it did, it defined it because Assassin's Creed 2 defined it with the towers and the open worlds. Well, even the original Assassin's Creed had towers in it. Yeah. That was maybe the first game that did it. But Far Cry
refined it.
It was the formula. It was like, this is it now. This is the towers, the outposts, maybe there's vehicles, and you're in first person, you're sneaking around and you're stabbing people, or you're in third person, you're sneaking around, you're stabbing people. That was like you're right, this is like the formula going forward now. So that's very true. And it's affected everything, like Shadow of War and all that stuff still today, you know what I mean?
Lots of it. I mean, hold on to your hats with this one, guys, but fucking Dear Esther, the high-octane walking simulator, did define a genre, and a lot of indie games have got elements related to that. I guess Telltale did The Walking Dead, right? And I know that they've done games before, like they had like the Sam and Max games out before that, which were pretty much the same thing. Yeah. But The Walking Dead really gripped people with like that, especially that specific cell shaded look, kind of been painting. And that is they're still using that pretty much that same formula now for like the Batman games and all this and all that. Guardians of the Galaxy. So that really stood out for me. That was the first time I played a game like that. And now I play a lot of games, and I always think in my head, a bit like The Walking Dead. Yeah, it wasn't even probably the best one. Like The Wolf Among Us is pretty top notch as well. But I think for me, like the games that stand out as being really genre defining is that Dear Esther and Journey. But I don't know what that is. What genre is Journey?
Just
exploratory piss. Like, what is it? It's like not a walking simulator because you're flying around and that.
Well,
just like a lava lamp game.
It is a lava lamp game, yeah.
Just like look at this bright colour.
Just move forward and just don't worry about it.
Have a nice time.
Enjoy the scene.
Yeah.
It's like an incubator.
That's how I would describe that game. A move forward and don't worry about it game. All of those words are
Get on the
hyphenated.
Steam tag.
Also, I was going to say something. Yeah, right. So what I find interesting about the Telltale games is that they are genre defining pretty much for their own purposes. Like, okay, you've got like Until Dawn and you've got the David Cage
Life
games
is
and
Strange.
that, you know, but they're basically that Telltale formula is that Telltale games in the same way that Lego games are Lego games. They're basically all the same. Since this isn't a jab at you for recently buying a Lego game. I'm just saying. There's nothing wrong with them.
No. I know.
Lego
Yeah,
games
just
are
laughing
alright.
because it's very relevant to me right now.
I noticed you got some trophies or something popped up on my PlayStation.
I spent 20
Jake
hours this weekend on.
You fucking got a good handful of trophies in Lego Harry Potter.
Nice.
But it's the way they come up with this formula once and then go, we'll just keep doing that, innit? And then they just keep, they get a different property, exactly, different IP, and they'll just come up with a very similar game with iterative additions and changes. And obviously there's tons of Star Wars ones, but there's the Harry Potter ones, there's Lord of the Rings and all kinds of stuff. So I think that there's plenty of games that come out and just define their own genres, and some of them have a wide impact, some of them just just kind of affect the series that comes afterwards. So Jaster asks, who would win in a battle, 3,000 lions or the sun?
The sun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He suggests that I think the lions could win if they attacked at night.
That's funny.
Which probably would have been considered science back in ancient Greece.
That's what's funny. Yeah, this is like a conversation that emperors would have. What they want to do, right?
Yeah.
Wait for the sun to fall asleep and then pounce.
So good effort there, Jaster. So
how would you get the lions into space as well?
Well, there's
lions-
3,000 of them, so there's some kind of ladder.
You not heard about
You
the
can
North-
only use the lions. You
I'm
can't.
just picturing lions in like astronaut suits.
Have you not heard of the North Africa Space Lion Association, NASLA?
Naslan.
Come
on.
I couldn't think of the last
Come on,
N. Oh,
fucking
it's the
hell.
North African Space Lion Association of Nigeria, NASLAN, and they send the lions into space, and they fuck the sun up. Ask Jaster
Christ
about it.
almighty, Jaster. Let's move on. Ben Smith, so do you guys believe that AAA games are not really what they used to be? If so, how would you redefine them and based on what grounds? So we mentioned this last week. I remember saying something about this, but I can't remember exactly what it was. AAA games, they're not what they used to be. How would we redefine what a AAA is based on what grounds? So, in other words, AAA used to be, kind of macro quality, didn't it?
Actually, Gaz on Friday, we were talking about it, weren't we? And he was saying
for a feature.
are there any actually good AAA? And I said, what about Divinity Original Sin? Because in terms of length, quality, production value, graphics, mechanics, technically that's AAA.
Yeah.
Then what he posed was that maybe for something to be AAA, it needs to have a AAA budget as well for marketing and publishing.
Well, that's what it is, isn't it? That's what it is now, isn't it? It's like, how much did it cost?
How much can you spend on adverts and stuff like that?
And I think that's fair, because you would describe Star Wars Battlefront 2 as AAA. I would not describe it as a good game, having played it. So it's that kind of definition, and I think AAA is not a marker of quality anymore. It just isn't. It just really isn't. And I think one of the reasons why I absolutely loved Horizon Zero Dawn so much is because that is AAA, but it's pure AAA, and it is for me, it's an absolutely excellent game, and it does everything that AAA should be doing, but it just isn't. And it was kind of like a reinforcement of that for me. It was a surprise. I thought it was going to be shite. I wasn't expecting to like it. I absolutely loved it, and it was like, why aren't all games doing this? Why aren't all games this polished? Why don't all games have this good kind of world building and storytelling? Why don't they all have this fun mechanics and trying to do something slightly new with a very rigid formula at the very least? And that's why I liked Horizon Zero Dawn so much. And that is what AAA aims for. That was aiming to be the best kind of AAA open world game of the year. And whether or not that succeeded is whatever, but that's what it was trying to be. Whereas a game like Battlefield or Battlefront or COD or whatever is just another COD game at this point, right? What do you guys think?
Yeah, we didn't really get so many in our list. We kind of thought Naughty Dog are pretty good at what they do. They make some very polished games. They do have a little bit of bullshittery, like Uncharted 2 was one of the first games to feature a season pass. So they would have one of the first to start that trend. But for the most part, in fact, I can't think of an example when it's not. It's a complete game every time with a Naughty Dog game. Good quality for what it is, whether you like Uncharted or not.
It's peak AAA again, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's just, it sets out to do something and it does it. And then sometimes it'll do something like The Last of Us, where it's brave enough to tell a certain story or whatever. What else did we get? I guess Nintendo you could count, could you?
Yeah. Well, Nintendo's interesting, isn't it? Because it's
Nintendo
AAA.
does its own thing, really.
Exactly. It's completely. I would never describe a Nintendo game as a AAA game. Because I'd firstly describe it as a Nintendo game. I'd never think AAA, genre. And that's that. And I say that as a compliment to Nintendo, because AAA is not a tag that you want to aspire to. I don't think. When has anyone been encouraged to buy a game because it is AAA these days? When do you go, oh, that's a AAA game, that must be good? When the fuck does that happen?
A lot of the time, it's opposite, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It shows enough warning signs. But yeah, I guess. But by the definition, Nintendo. Technically, they're so good.
Exactly, yeah.
They've broke out of the mold, though. So I guess you'd have to say,
So this is where the question comes in. It is if it is all about budget, which I strongly think it is. Those games are expensive to make from Nintendo, but it never enters my mind that they are AAA games. They are Nintendo games. They are fucking edge bait. They are 10 out of 10 bait. Do you know what I mean? They're different. Good
reference, that. Edge bait.
They're just their own thing, I think. So it's a really interesting discussion. Do you think the word is going to still be here in like 10 years' time, or do you think it's going to fade? What with indies getting better and games like Divinity Original Sin and Hellblade and stuff like that?
Yeah, an indie game. I think it is, right. Independently
this
developed.
This is what I mean.
Not off publisher. Crowdfunded though. So that's
crowdfunding's another huge effect on this.
This is what I mean. So games like Divinity Original Sin 2. Which, like I say, has got everything to rival a AAA game, right? Didn't need a publisher. Games like that are a problem. And how do you describe that? Because AAA is just like, sounds like a grade. This game's A++.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It does.
So it's like, how do you describe a game?
Review score.
Yeah, it's fucking. So that was like a little tasty little reference to Chris Tuckman there. Anyway, let's not do that. I just don't know what competition they're going to have for a name. Like AAA, AAA, I don't know what they're going to start calling them.
Fucking expensive, innit? That's just all it means. That's all it means to me now.
Experience.
Yeah, exactly. What does it mean to you, Liam? When you hear AAA, I mean, what enters your mind there? Do you think like quality or just because that's what I think.
Just like sheer quantity, isn't it? How much money can they throw at it and hope it turns out well? It
should mean polish, shouldn't it? But
it's like games like from Naughty Dog, Uncharted stuff. I wouldn't consider. I'd call them like prestige games or something like that. I know it sounds like proper pretentious, but
I don't know. It sounds a bit cod.
That sounds like a Call of Duty subsidiary company.
Yeah.
But it's like they're always referred to as like the prestige game studio because they make things that are like so unique and not.
I see. So you mean like that it transcends AAA to where you shouldn't just call it AAA. You should call it like fucking.
Yeah. So they need a different tag because like AAA just literally means the likes of EA, Ubisoft.
It is, isn't it?
Run of the mill.
Yeah. It's annual releases at this point.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
But then you get the games from like Guerrilla Games, Naughty Dog, where they're not out often, and when they do come out, they're so good. They transcend any definition of AAA.
I see where you're coming from. Yeah, it's definitely worth considering. Like, I just think the term AAA is not long of this world, but because of what the AAA industry is doing to itself, and with annual releases and on all the bad stuff that they do, like loot boxes and all that, and just the rise of indie. And I don't mean that the indies have been bad and they are now good. I just mean that they're getting, with every single year that passes, you get like. It pushes things further. Indie games just bring something new to the table in a way that brings them not only better as indie games, but brings them closer to mainstream appeal and stuff. So it's interesting. It's a huge conversation. So let's move on to another one. Tom Cartmel.
Yes.
I have exams at the moment, and it's killing me. Only playing 2 or 4 hours of games a week because of exams. I was wondering, how did you guys balance school and video games? P.S. Who in the office is getting Star Wars Battlefront 2? How do we balance gaming and... let's just say other... He's saying school and exams here, but he's saying other stuff. Because we work full-time, we don't play any games in the office at all. So
how did we?
How did we?
Can you remember?
I guess just get. I used to work as well. I always had a part-time job when I was a teenager, and so I had to work around that as well. So just after stuff in it, just save the game until last. Always, keep the game as something you got to look forward to. Innit? That's what I'd say. What about you guys?
I was just
Jake looks skeptical over there.
Yeah.
For anyone listening,
I'd do say an hour or two revision. I didn't make notes, read up on stuff. Then I'd take a 15-minute break, just listen to some music or go watch a bit of TV, have a snack, something like that. And then I always save game.
A snack.
Yeah.
No.
And then usually just after I'd finished all that, then I'd play games to decompress from it all.
Right. Okay. That's what I think is the wisdom, right? Just fucking save it till last.
That's the right answer.
It's
like save your Yorkshire puddings till the end of the Sunday dinner, isn't it? That's standard. Right.
I didn't. I didn't get my priorities very good at all. I really didn't. I don't really care for education. I didn't go to university like you guys.
Yeah.
I really.
Look at the mess you're in now as well.
Exactly. Right. I really didn't do a very good job. I can remember I used to get home from school. First thing I did, me and my mate Liam would play Battle for Middle Earth on the Xbox.
Yes.
Or Command and Conquer 3 Tiberium Wars. Till
me and my mate Bryn might have played you in one of those games.
Because they weren't that popular on the Xbox.
No, they really weren't. Yeah. There's probably about 200 people playing them.
Exactly, right. So we used to do that, and then at 10 at night, I'd be like, I've got to do this, and then I'd just try and cram it in. I didn't ever really prioritise schoolwork, so that's how I did it, which is your question, but it's not what I would recommend. Don't drop out of a cider degree in D-side college to play Call of Duty Modern Warfare in February, 3 months after the college course started, because that's what I did, and I don't even really regret it.
I love that this has become don't make the same mistakes I did, mate. Yeah. Just do.
Actually, it doesn't make
stay in school.
Yeah, or don't. It doesn't really matter. Just
this is horrible life advice. Don't listen to Jake. Let's move on. Gritty Gaming. Hi guys, Gritty here. Since you guys are supportive of full actual game releases, and since you mentioned the difference between the casual 2 games a year people and hardcore gamers in this podcast, I thought it would be fitting to ask the question, how ethical buying games from key sellers is versus pirating versus buying the game like normal at retail price.
We've got 3 tiers. So I just want you to know, Mike, full disclosure, I brought up your amazing little cinema and popcorn analogy in the podcast. Full credit to you, by the way.
What was it? I forgot.
It was that you say people that buy AAA games only once or twice a year. It's like people that go to the cinema every now and then. They'll buy the £8 popcorn and the drinks and shit.
Because they're not asked, they just want to go to the cinema.
And it's a special occasion.
Yeah.
For people that go to the cinema every week, they can't afford it, and they realise
they're not thinking about the ethics of the cinema.
Exactly. So it's like that. So that's what he's on about, the ethics-wise. And we're on about people that buy 2 games a year. They'll spend £100 on both of the games. They'll buy Assassin's Creed Origins with the fucking...
And they're probably happier than all of us. I mean, do you know what I mean?
They fucking are. No doubt in my mind. So that's where we were with that. In terms of ethics, well, piracy, I mean, just take a look at Bogdan from earlier. He had a headache with piracy.
Yeah, it's fucking too much hassle.
Do you know what I mean?
Too much hassle for Bogdan.
It's all down to you personally, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ethically, everything ends up being personal these days. Depends how all right you are with it. If you're all right with stealing, then you're going to steal, aren't you? If we told you not to, it wouldn't make a difference, would it?
I suppose piracy would be better than buying it off a key seller, though, because most of these keys are stolen in the first place. And the developer doesn't see any of the money you've just spent.
No.
So
that's why they're called grey, though, isn't it? It's because a lot of them are keys from Eastern Europe or something like that, and leave the Slavs alone. I know, but they'll just get keys that are intended for Europe or something, for example, and they are sold in countries where the currency is weaker or something. So they buy them in bulk there, where the currency is weaker, and then they're worldwide keys, so they work anywhere. And then they sell them in the UK where the currency is stronger, despite everything that's happened over the last year. And it's like then they make a profit in that. So the company is getting profit, but not as much as they really should be getting, for example. But that's just one example of what can be on the key reseller sites.
This is what it is. There's lots of ifs and buts. Like people could just literally set up proxy accounts and buy things on, in different countries.
From Brazil or something.
Yeah, when they're on sale. It might be, a PlayStation sale in America, Europe, whatever. But it could also be, and this is, a lot of people say, well, the companies are still making some money. And here's a hypothetical situation when they won't. Someone steals someone else's credit card, and they use that credit card to buy a game, and then they get a digital download key, legally now. Then, that credit card... The victim of the theft phones up their bank, and then they're like, oh shit, my credit card got stolen. And then the bank backdrafts that pay. So the developer who had just sold someone a game gets a call from the bank or whatever, they have to give that money back. Yeah. Then all of a sudden they haven't made any money, but that key is still out in the wild now. Yeah. This is what people are on about when they're talking about this credit card theft thing. Yeah. See, because people, I noticed a lot of comments didn't quite get what we mean by that. So hopefully that explains that. That could, again, that is one thing that can happen. You just don't know. It's like buying something off the back of the van. Did that guy get it from gunpoint? Did he get it from, was it a victimless crime? You don't know. And it depends morally if you're okay with that.
And like Liam says, it doesn't matter. Like, the end result is that most of the money that, say out of like 1,000 copies of that game that gets sold on the site, that not all of those are going to be, and how much of that money is going to be going to the developer and the publisher, and that's the question. But I don't know. To be honest, like, pirating is like, PC gaming is just about enough hassle that I can handle anyway, right? Piracy is like another layer of like, oh fucking hell, I just can't be asked to set it all up and whatever. And cracking games and mounting stuff on fucking virtual drives and all that kind of stuff. I can't be asked with it. So I'll just wait till the game is cheap or whatever. And that's the beauty with PC gaming, at least, that so many games are discounted. There's so many digital stores that are competitive. There's so many services like Is There Any Deal or Savvy Gamer in the UK. You can just keep an eye on them, see what the deals are. You can get games cheap anyway, so it's
I think it was,
cool.
Wasn't it Gabe Newell said piracy is a service problem? Yeah. That's why they made Steam.
It's true.
To solve the issue of getting games to people around the world.
It really is true. Like movies and TV piracy, like how much of that is purely because they're not fucking showing it in the country where you live.
You should have seen when Netflix first started, there was a big drop in piracy because Netflix was more convenient and it was so cheap. Yeah. So it's like stuff like that. If it's
Spotify and music, you know what I mean?
Exactly. If it's there, and you can pay a small fee. If it's really convenient to get legally, people normally will do that.
Yeah. So there you go. Great question again. Thank you very much, dude. What should we go for next?
Are we ever going to answer the chips and sauce question, or?
We'll round back to that at the end. This is just a bit of art going on.
Very clever.
I thought it would be inappropriate to go dive into that straight away because this is a gaming podcast. But you can answer
just to show you a little teaser of what's to come.
It's foreshadowing. Exactly.
Hot vloggers do that.
Right. Anyway, so next, giant evil pandas. Giant evil pandas. I was going to say Giantevil pandas. Because it's all one word. Giant evil pandas. There we go. What is a game that you found so corny or terrible that you actually ended up enjoying it? I feel like Liam will have a few answers for this question.
I definitely did.
Go on. Corny or terrible games that you actually ended up enjoying.
There's a game on the Wii U called The Devil's Third, made by...
I'm already happy.
Sounds like a shit IPA.
So I drank some of that on the weekend.
It's made by the guy who created the Ninja Gaiden games, the ultra hard ones on Xbox and stuff like that. And it is so badly put together, over the top. You play as a Russian mobster called Ivan, who for some reason gets called to the White House to save the world from terrorists, who he used to be friends with. Yeah. And the dialogue is atrocious, the combat is atrocious, but somehow it's still fun to play. I don't know why.
Devil's Third, available at all good ale houses.
For £10 on the Wii U. So, there you go.
Look forward to Switch port of that. I played their Two Worlds, right? And, and Risen. They're two games that I played. I don't know.
Yeah, you've talked about this before, haven't you?
Two Worlds. Like, my mate gave me the game and said, this game is unplayable. I'll give it you. Just don't play it. And then once I was just really, really unwell, bedridden. I had to play something, ran out of all games on my Xbox 360, plugged it in, it was absolute
had to play something.
Didn't want to watch Loose Women. I had to, right? Yeah. So I was sick of Castle Crashers, ended up putting on Two Worlds. It was complete trash, but I ended up absolutely fucking loving it by the end.
Very good.
I mean, Risen as well is another shit one.
Do you know what the problem with this question is? There's so many games now that aim for it. There's like fucking Goat Simulator and all that shit. Like it's just PewDiePie bait. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just kind of shooting.
Oh, you're a man in a ladder.
Yeah, shooting for the clickbait, and then you get all the teenagers watching it, and boom, you've sold loads of copies. And there's loads of games on Steam. Steam's like spammed with this shit now, right? Trying to make games that are so ridiculous.
Ironic games that where you play as like a toaster and shit. Man.
Yeah. So yeah, there's loads of games like that on Steam, and they're all shite. And there's games trying to be corny and terrible. I can't really remember ever playing a game that was there's loads of games that are corny but they're not terrible, like Metal Gear Solid 2, for example. And there's stuff in it that's like really loads of melodrama. Games can be awful storytelling sometimes, but it's still entertaining in some way. So. I don't know. It's a good question. It's a good question, though, for sure. So let's move on to Kevin O'Riordan. Regarding the Star Wars Battlefront 2 microtransaction situation and your recent video on it, are the developers really to blame? They seem to be getting the front of abuse from the community when it's really the greedy bastards high up in EA. Would like to know your thoughts on this. Yeah, it's never the developers. It's never ever the developers.
I highly doubt DICE were like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to put microtransactions in our game.
It's the most heartbreaking thing about Star Wars Battlefront 2 is just how glorious of a game it is for an hour. Just DICE's design is just wonderful for an hour. They nail Star Wars so hard, right? For an hour, they absolutely get it. And then it just, you're trying to progress in multiplayer, but you're having to fucking watch loot boxes pop open like Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, the free-to-play mobile game, which is probably where they got the idea from. It's just, it's EA's, footprints are all over it. But there's great DICE stuff in there. And it's kind of dispiriting, but it's never ever the developer.
It's not, is it? I mean, but what's annoying is like with this EA thing, they fucking pushed DICE to the front. Yeah. DICE did an interview with Angry Joe for some fucking reason, and and people giving him shit because the guy was dancing around the questions. The guy probably wants to scream, it was fucking EA. Yeah. It was their fault. We didn't want to do it. But he can't say that, can he? Because I'll be fired. So he was just like, yeah. And there's an AMA on Reddit, which is like a Q&A session sort of thing, if you don't know. Tomorrow, time of recording.
That'll go well.
And that's with DICE, right? Where EA community team are the ones leaving that shit comment, but it's DICE doing it. I remember when Shadow of War developer diary like a year ago, maybe January actually this year, and the developers were so happy, Monolith. You could see how passionate they were about the Tolkien universe. And then you saw the video. Who was it that had to announce the loot boxes? It was them. So they have to feign enthusiasm because, like, it's Warner Bros. Decision or whatever.
It's always like a head of department or something as well. They've got to get so it's like, listen, you're on $45,000 a year here, mate. You've got to, if we tell you to be enthusiastic about microtransactions, you've got to be enthusiastic about microtransactions, and that's what it is.
Just towing the line, and it's such a shame, especially because, like, can you imagine if they just went on video and was like, yeah, so here's the fucking orc loot boxes. We didn't really want to implement it in, but we were being made to. So, I mean, there's that. It's so annoying. DICE, cracking development studio, from what I gather. Yeah. They managed to get this real amazing feeling of, like, immersion, especially sound design. Yeah. Playing Battlefield 1 and being, like, amazed by how amazing things sound.
Yeah, DICE have always been like that. Battlefield Bad Company 2 is possibly one of, if not the best Battlefield games. It's amazing, and look how old that is. And they've been like that for a while, and then EA have kind of put them on this task of just pumping out Battlefield and Battlefront games. Next year we're getting a Battlefield game. It's fucking happening. Yeah. It's definitely going to happen. Yeah. It's going to, and then the year after that we'll get Battlefront 3. I mean, it's just, that's the way AAA gaming is now. And so then what that means is that DICE as a studio has been split into two teams. So half the team is doing, this is conjecture, but this is probably what it is. The half of the team is on Battlefield, the other half is on Battlefront. And it's just, they're exactly what EA do with their big studios, BioWare, all of them, right? Visceral Games is gone now. Don't know if I've mentioned that. It's just the way that the EA, not only in terms of the practices, the shitty kind of design impacts of that, like loot boxes, how that's actually affected the multiplayer progression. Aside from all that, the whole game is managed by EA. They're the ones who say, right, DICE, this is what you're doing for the next 12 months. Do that. Then DICE will do something. They'll come up with a demo for them, and then the EA will go, yeah, this is all right, but you should change this and do this and do this and do this and make sure that you've got one of these. Look, COD has got multiplayer, single player, and zombies. What have we got? What have we got, DICE? And then DICE are like, all right, okay, we'll come up with some arcade shite, which is shite in Battlefront. Waste of time. If anyone is sitting there enjoying playing arcade or Star Wars Battlefront. There are better games, okay? There's better uses of your time out there. So they're just kind of, all these decisions are EA's decisions, big decisions about the game.
Yeah.
DICE, at this point, are like they're the bricklayer in a building. Like the foreman is going, I want you to do this, I want you to do this, I want you to do this, and then DICE are like, okay, and then just building a wall wherever he's being told, and then and the wall is fucking great. It's a great wall, but where that wall is and what that wall's purpose is, and the house looks shite as a whole. I don't know. There's an analogy there.
All the rooms are locked. You have to buy keys.
That's it. It's beautiful. Right, okay. We nailed that one. Let's move on quickly before anyone notices. Definition with the last question. He's basically asking, it's a long question, he's talking about Jim Sterling's Gymquisition, which I have not watched. Has either of you guys watched it from this week?
Not watched it.
Crap. So we can't answer your question, your definition, but he's talking about apparently Jim Sterling puts this argument across that virtual currencies are there to kind of deflect the blame and kind of protect companies from gambling laws and whatnot, and regulations, because you're not actually buying the thing outright. He says, Jim Sterling says, that protects the companies because there's virtual currency in the way as a buffer. However, casinos have got chips.
Yeah.
What gives? Well, I don't know. We haven't watched the Jim Sterling video, but I think for me, virtual currencies function exactly the same way as casino chips, right? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree with that. So it's a way to get people to disassociate their action from spending real money.
There are so many benefits to virtual currencies from that point of view for them in terms of manipulating and exploiting the people who buy into it. Yes, the disassociation effect, the fact that once that currency is spent, once you've bought that currency, you bought 20 quid's worth, and just you do what you want, and you'll just blow it on whatever you want.
Exactly. If you were spending pound coins on like gambling, like let's say you're playing poker, you were 5 down, then you were 10 down. You'd fold, and then you'd go, right, okay, that's enough for me. But if you've got these chips, you're like, well, I've got 10 left.
Yeah, you've bought in for a 10 or 20 quid, so those are the chips that you've got.
Exactly. It's like, this is the same with this, isn't it? And that's why they do it where, I don't know, let's say you want something that's 300 fucking star points, and you can only buy 500 star points. You've got 200 then, so you think, if I buy another 500, I'll have enough for 2 more. Yeah. Rather than just a direct cost. That's what it is, isn't it? And so they can like manipulate the levels of currency you can purchase with real money.
So like I said, we haven't seen the Jim Sterling video, but I think there's a lot. Obviously, there's a lot to this. It's a very complex issue, and even the regulatory bodies of the UK have spoken. What is it? I can't remember what it was. The Gambling Commission or whatever.
It's the Gambling Commission.
They've said that it's not technically gambling because you are guaranteed an item of certain value, so it's just like buying trading cards. And that's their position on it. And something else is going to have to change. Weight of opinion, I don't think, is strong enough at the moment to influence them to do anything. I don't think there's a huge like public outcry. There is within the gaming community. There's a petition and all that sort of thing. But things take a lot of time to change in when it comes to this sort of stuff, like any kind of laws and regulations. So I don't know. It is, for me, it still is gambling. It full on is gambling, and not only because of the actual mechanism of you put money in and you get something random out. Everything around it, like the virtual currency, all that stuff that persuades you to do it, is like being in a casino. That's why I think it's like gambling, because of it uses so many of gambling's tactics to get you to spend your money. That's the fucking problem, and they just don't look at it. So anyway, I don't know. Definition. That's a good question.
Yeah, it is.
So that's all the questions. That's all the comments. That's an entire podcast dedicated to you guys, to your questions, to your comments.
Not doing the chips now.
Sorry?
Not doing the chips.
Yeah, we'll round back to the chips. So simply Phil, who's a friend of the channel.
Yeah. I just want to know what you guys think. Sorry to cut you in.
You are having chips. What sauce do you reach for?
Because we teased it in the beginning.
Depends what you're having with chips in it. It's like, if it's just fish and chips, don't go near it with any sauce. Otherwise, you're a madman. Salt and vinegar is all you need. Maybe you can have some mushy peas, right? That's all right.
Okay.
Otherwise, no. But if it's like chips on its own, again, you've got to be like, it's never red sauce is the answer. It's never ever red sauce. Red sauce.
That's what you're beating around. What about if you have chips and cheese?
Chips and cheese, just chips and cheese, isn't it?
Yeah. Sauce on chips and cheese. Maybe a little brown if you want the sauce.
Right, interesting.
Because cheese and brown sauce goes well, I'm told. Apparently.
Cheese and tomato goes together very well, which is why people go for the ketchup. But
yeah.
I can see you're not. Then just have a pizza in it if you want starch and tomato.
Well, that's what it is. That's what.
I have hot sauce on my chips.
Yeah, I do.
Hot sauce on my chips and cheese.
Culinary was Jake Kulkowski.
Hot
I bet you
sauce
spread it
and
like
chips
this
is
as well.
good.
Do you know what I mean?
Fuck!
I bet you.
What
I bet
angle
you
is
there's
that?
about
It's mic stand.
I
What
bet
are
you there's
saying
about a
about me?
2-foot gap between the tray of the plate of chips and
You
the
think I've got one of
sauces.
them hoity-toity fucking salt and pepper things that are like that?
No, I think you're just like Jamie Oliver, sprinkling it from high up and getting
No.
it all over
Like
the
a
counter.
drizzle.
No, I agree. Fish and chips, no sauce. Chips by itself, normally I don't really have a portion of just chips by itself.
Yeah, exactly. You
But if
do
I have
that.
chips and cheese, I have hot sauce. It's fucking nice.
I mean, if you do have
Oh,
chips
man.
by itself, chips and curry, that's a pretty good one from the chippy.
Yeah, curry gravy, but then again, is that a sauce? I don't know.
let me tell
Everyone's
you.
called curry, so
Let me tell you what sauce does fly, right? Barbecue sauce with A, McDonald's, or B, any kind of burger in one of the many kind of fucking burgery steakhouse restaurants that Britain has been flooded with. in
Barbecue
recent years.
sauce is good.
Barbecue sauce.
Okay, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So there we go. Phil.
Unanimously decided.
Thank you very much for the questions, everyone. Please do the same so we can maybe do this again next week. Who knows how this is going to work? But I kind of enjoyed doing this. I kind of picking apart
Kind
your
of,
questions
yeah.
in detail rather than having to. No, I'd say kind of. That's high praise from me. It's rather than having to squash them all at the end. So yeah, ask enough questions. We might do this again next week. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time.